What you're about to listen to is a Bry-Fy production.
Comic book reviews. 50 nerd news. Heroes versus villains.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bry-Fy podcast, the end of the year episode. Holy crap, we've made it through another year of the Bry-Fy podcast. What is this, year 4? We're going into year 5 now. Episode 210, I believe. I mean, wow, I can't believe I've been doing it this long. I can't believe you guys have been around this long either. You know, it makes me happy. I'm so excited to be able to continue podcasting and having support and fans and people that actually listen. You know, that's a big deal for me, and I'm so happy that we're here. Anyway, enough being sappy about all that, you know, saying thanks and everything and Merry Christmas and all that. Let's talk about the best of 2017 for this podcast. Normally with the Bry-Fy podcast, we talk comic book reviews, some nifty nerd news, and then I like to throw in, you know, some dad stuff or, you know, just stuff with my son. Not so much the comic book reviews today, not even really nifty nerd news stuff today. Like I said, it's just going to be talking about some of my best of for this year, just some of the things that I really enjoyed. I'm not going to try to get too listy with it, you know, like, oh, these are my top 5. You know, there's tons of other podcasts that do a top 5 of the year and all that kind of stuff. And so, and they're great. Trust me, they're a lot better than what I do with my podcast. Definitely check out the 8-Bit Geek. They just had like their top 5 of the year. They did movies, video games, and I think television shows, some of which I agree with, and you'll hear them on here as well. And just a bunch of my other podcasts that I listen to, they're doing their top of list, like Metal Geeks is doing theirs as well. I believe Nerdy Bitches will do something. I don't know. I haven't heard too much from them. They don't record as often anymore since one of the co-hosts moved away to California. Why would you move to California? I'm just kidding. I love y'all. You guys are like one of my best favorite podcasts, and so we'll get into all that for this year. But yeah, that's kind of what we're going to talk about this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and you know, agree, disagree. Let me know what you guys think. What was your best of for these categories that we're going to go through today? Not too many. Well, it's quite a few. 5, 10, 12 categories. Yeah, I put 12 categories in this, and I might just ad lib some, you know, ad lib. What is it? Ad lib. I don't know. I can't think. I'm trying to think what it's called. Yeah, it's ad lib, right? Let me know, please. God, I'm such bad at this. Also, I want to give a shout out to my wife, Casey, who, thankfully enough for Christmas, bought me this amazing portable recording mic for my iPhone. I feel like the sound quality has been fantastic with it. I actually went through and finally listened to the episodes fully that I recorded. Everything sounded great. I loved it. I feel like it's better than my Blue Yeti microphone, which, you know, I love that thing. That thing is just fantastic to plug in and go. I've used it with my laptops and everything. Now this might be my new recording thing, especially at cons and stuff, because now I don't have to carry my laptop and everything. I can just record on my phone, or if I want to now, I can, you know, use the Blue Yeti to record someone else while I record on my phone for any other things. And so that will be fantastic, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get the chance to really use that and utilize my recording devices. So shout out to my wife. You are the best wife of 2017. And there we go. That's how we're kicking off the list. But yeah, let's start things off with my favorite comic book convention of 2017. And there were quite a few. I went to, I think 6 or 7 this year. And I got one more to go this weekend, IkiCon. So I'm pretty excited for that. I went to another anime convention. I forgot what it was called already. I think it was just Anime Austin. But did not make my best of. The best comic book convention for me this year was, of course, and I always rave about it every year because it's always the best convention, Comic Palooza. It's in Houston, Texas. It was actually one of the first, actually it was the first comic book convention I ever went to. And I mean, of course, it's more than just comic books. There are celebrities there. There's tons of artists and vendors and everything. And for my first convention, man, that was like shocking because it was just huge. I didn't know what to do the first year I ever went. It was overwhelming. And then I went to like a couple of smaller conventions, kind of got my feet wet and got ready for the following year. And then now every year since that, it's been awesome. I feel like I'm an expert at Comic Palooza, knowing what panels to hit and where to go. I've even got to host a few panels at Comic Palooza. Didn't do any this past year, but definitely got to just enjoy the convention. Got to meet a bunch of new people and some new friends, and got to meet old friends. And so it's always a blast. And every year I get to go to Comic Palooza is always a great year, and it's just fun because it's family now for me. Comic Palooza is like family, and it was just great getting to see my family again and getting to just nerd out, especially since I've moved to Austin. I don't get to see them as often, so it's always been great to have that. A runner-up, and one that I also want to give an honorable mention to, is Staple. I've always talked about Staple. I've always wanted to go to Staple because it just seemed like my favorite thing. It was like all artists are alley, all, you know, independent creators trying to push their stuff, and I've always wanted to go see it. And this year I finally got to, and God, it lived up to the hype. It was so great getting to just, and you know, a lot of my friends who I see at Comic Palooza and other conventions were there also, like Isaiah Broussard, James Ferry, Ben Humanek, who he's been on the show plenty of times. You guys know him. And I met another guy, Tyler, through him, who I tried to record an episode. That episode went to crap, and so I wasn't able to get him. So I got to get him back on to talk about his book, Chimera, which is really great, by the way. But no, Staple definitely lived up to the hype. I had a blast and a lot of fun being there. And I can't wait to go again. I can't wait to be at Staple again. So hopefully I get to go. And plus, I didn't go as press. I just went as a fan, and it doesn't break the bank. It was like $5 to get in. Gives you plenty of money to buy a bunch of stuff, which I did. And so it was just a blast. It was tons of fun. Up next, let's talk about my favorite television show of 2017. And now I don't watch a lot of TV. I mean, honestly, me and Casey have cut the cable cord a few years. I think we're year 3 now with no cable. The only TV shows I watch are through Hulu or Netflix originals. And so, I mean, I don't really watch a lot of TV, but there are a few shows that I've finally got to check out, and some this year that I took a chance on and really, really enjoyed it. And that the show I'm referring to is The Orville. And that's the one by Seth MacFarlane. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but my God, I love this show. I don't know how to describe this to you, how good this show is and how surprisingly good it was, because when I first saw The Orville, saw it was a Seth MacFarlane thing, I was like, okay, this is Family Guy in space or like American Dad in space. It's going to be like super dumb, hilarious, kind of poke fun at current events and stuff like that. And while there is humor and while they do have some fun in it, my God, does this show get serious, and does it tackle some serious issues? And I think in a great way, in a respectful way, and in a way that's not going to be incredibly offensive type way. I was really surprised by how much I liked The Orville. It was just really great. It was really fantastic. Some runner-ups, of course. Netflix has had some good stuff. There's a show on there called Atypical that me and Casey have watched and really fall in love with. It's about a boy, like a teenage boy in high school who is on the autism spectrum. And I guess that kind of it hit a little close to home because our son may be on that spectrum as well. We believe he is. Doctors seem to think if he is on the spectrum, he's a high-functioning autistic person, and we are going to go to the neurologist soon to, get him tested and observed so we can find out if he is actually on the spectrum or if he just doesn't want to talk to us and we're bad parents or something like that, So it's like, oh, please be autistic because I don't want to be a bad parent. No, I'm kidding, guys. But I think Atypical hit really close to home because of that, and just because of kind of our feelings and almost like what we're kind of thinking what the future might hold for us, and it's kind of like a fun learning experience. Although, of course, it's a television show, so some of the stuff is over dramatic and crazy, but I enjoy Atypical. I thought it was a fun show, and I thought it was funny and really enjoyed it. Definitely a runner-up. Of course, another show that I kind of got into that I dug was Marvel's Runaway. I've checked out the first 2 episodes of it. It's definitely really drama-filled, but it's really good. Like, I think it's different enough from the other Marvel shows that it's something new. It doesn't have that same feel of like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or, thank God, the Inhumans. Oh, God, that's the worst of 2017, I think. But no, Orville, best television show for me. Just head over heels for that show. It's got everything that I like. It doesn't get too silly, but it definitely knows what it is, and doesn't get too serious, but it does get serious. So it's a good show. Check it out. Best anime for me of 2017. And it's so tough because I kind of wanted to do an anime television show and an anime movie, but you know what? I just wanted to do just one thing because, and let's face it, anime is so crazy. There's so many different shows and so many different things, but there's one movie that stood out to me. Me and Casey got to see it in theaters here in America, which is becoming a thing now. More and more people are into anime. More and more companies are willing to push showing anime in movie theaters more mainstream here in the States, and it's great. The one we got to check out is called Kimi no Nawa, or it's called Your Name in America, or in English. And oh my God, this anime is so fantastic. It's so great. It deals kind of with like, not time travel, but like people in 2 different time periods connecting, and the time periods aren't as far apart as you think, maybe just a few years. And it's definitely kind of a love story, kind of a like a coming of age story in a way. And it's just so fantastic. I have never watched an anime that made me feel the way that this movie did. It rivals some of the best movies like that I had to like if I had to do a top 5 list of movies that I've watched that I thought were fantastic this year, this would definitely be in my top 5 overall movies. But for anime, it is my top anime of the year. It is so good. The music in it was fantastic. They do have an English dub version, but I so recommend watching the Japanese with English subtitles because the music, it was written in Japanese and they redo it in English for the English version, but it sounds so much better in Japanese. It just, God, it was so fantastic. The artwork, the animation in it was so great. The storytelling was fantastic, and the ending was such a great payoff. It was just a good ending for the movie and good ending as like fan service wise. So, God, you guys got to check out Your Name or Kimi no Nama. Best YouTube channel, and trust me, that like YouTube has been what I've been into. Like, I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but God, man, do I watch YouTube a lot now. Like, YouTube is the new TV, and now they're trying to get like live TV on YouTube. No, don't do that, YouTube. Know what you are. Your content, your creators on your website, that's your channels. That is your content. That's your bread and butter, man. Don't get into the live TV game. Like, no, if I want live TV, I'll get a fucking cable subscription, okay? Like, that's my rant on YouTube right now. But, God, there's some good creators out there, some good content. And my favorite YouTube creators to watch, my favorite content channel to watch is Neebs Gaming. They're a gaming channel, and while they do gaming reviews and stuff like that, they've really gotten to kind of like story type gameplay and like almost like cinematic type gameplay where it's game footage, but they add their own story and like it's like them in the game kind of stuff. And they've shown me games like Scrap Mechanic, Ark. They've really had a lot of fun with Grand Theft Auto Online And they've just shown me a lot of fun, like, indie games that have come out that I really want to check out. Like, I need a PC or a PlayStation so I can check out these games because they're not on Xbox, and that pisses me the frick off, man. But games like Ark, which I've played now, it's so fantastic. I wish I had more friends that played it. And then, of course, Scrap Mechanic. I need to get a PC so I can play Scrap Mechanic, even though I've heard it's glitchy as hell. It's fun as shit to watch these guys build and have fun and just do these like challenges and builds. Like, oh man, it's just great. And their content's always been fantastic. It's always been fun. When I need to laugh, when I need to smile, Neebs Gaming is there for me. Just if they happen to just glance on this episode, like, shout out to you guys over there. Neebs, Thick, Abstro, Duralius, shit. I can't remember everyone. Who's the one who's bad at gaming? Simon. There we go. But all those guys over there. Ada Hop, who does editing and is also on some videos as well. They've been just fantastic. Such a great find for me. I don't even know how I found Neebs Gaming. I think they did something on Reddit, and someone was talking about Scrap Mechanic, and that's where I found Neebs Gaming from. And so it was just so fantastic, and I'm so happy that I found them. And it looks like my son is starting to wake up. Hey, buddy. Are you up? Are you awake? All right, we're going to take a short break so I can take care of my son, and then we will come back to finish the best of 2017. All right, guys, and we're back from that short break, so thank you guys for sticking around for that. Anyway, I also, before we continue with the rest of the best of 2017, I want to give a shout-out on the YouTube channel stuff to another YouTube channel. The guy's name is Giguk. He does anime reviews, and it's just, ever since I've gotten way more into anime this year and been following a lot more anime, his channel has been very insightful. He definitely has a passion for anime, and not only just like the movies themselves, but the industry and like where it's coming from, where it's going, and the future of it. I really appreciate his look and his insight on everything. And it's just been really fantastic that actually my wife found that channel. And so she showed that to me, and that's been friggin' amazing and a valuable resource, especially when it comes to finding new anime and just all that stuff. And RJ is in a much better mood now. We walked around Barnes & Noble. They have like a little kids book area, but they also have a little train set in there that he can play with, like with Thomas the Train toys and stuff. And so he got to play around with that. We shared a croissant and some apple juice, which was a lot of fun and yummy. So we're in a much better mood now for the second half of this. Anyway, moving on from YouTube channels, let's talk about my favorite movie of the year, the best movie, in my opinion, of 2017. And I feel like there was a lot of big contenders this year. There was a lot of movies that were really good, really fantastic, and like made me smile, made me feel. Wow, man, there was just a lot of movies, and I actually got to see quite a few of them this year, so I was really excited. I want to give some honorable mentions to Star Wars, which was not my top, but it was very fun, very enjoyable. I mean, it was a Star Wars movie. A lot of funny bits in it, which I really liked. Of course, last episode, I did my complete review on it, so you can go ahead and check that out and agree or disagree. It's up to you. Runner-up for movie of the year for me was Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was so fantastic. It was definitely the right step for DC. It was such a breath of fresh air. It was just so happy to see, and Wonder Woman was an amazing character. But the top spot for me this year is going to go to Spider-Man Homecoming, and that's, of course, Spider-Man finally back in the Marvel Universe. Marvel finally getting their hands on him to, well, that sounds bad, especially in recent news. Marvel finally getting able to make a Spider-Man movie. I feel like they did an amazing job casting Tom Holland. He is a fantastic Peter Parker, a great Spider-Man. Just the movie had everything. It had heart. It had fun. it was just great. From like the moment where he's sitting on top of a building, the dude's like, hey, you're Spider-Man, do a flip, and he does one, he's like, yeah, like that's just funny. And then like you have the part where, spoilers if you haven't seen it, where Peter gets trapped under the rubble and like he cries for help because like he can't do it, like, you know. And that hit me emotionally, not only as a parent but just as a person. Like, that's a boy. Like, that's not a man. That's not like Iron Man or Captain America. That's a child, you know. And there was just a lot of great moments. Michael Keaton as the Vulture was just phenomenal. One of my favorite Marvel villains. I even like him better than Loki, you know. He was smart. He wasn't a dumb villain. He was a smart villain. He had a fairly solid reason for being what he was, and so I just really enjoyed it. And then like the scene where Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, Adrian Toomes, figures out Peter Parker's Spider-Man, like, oh man, it's such a chilling moment in that movie. And so it was just such a fantastic movie. It was so much fun. It was just everything that I wanted it to be. Having Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, Tony Stark, show up and do some things, and just there was just so many great parts of that movie. It's just so hard. Like, I would recap that whole movie if I was to really just talk about it again on this podcast. So we're gonna move on from there. But definitely my favorite movie. Thor Ragnarok didn't make it, although it was another good movie. For my top 5 of the year, I would probably add it onto my list. Of course, I didn't see a lot of movies this year, but I did see more than I usually do. So that was always a good one for me. Best video game of 2017 for me, hands down, has to be, no question about it, Pokemon Go. I'm kidding. No. Although it's up there, you know, Pokemon Go, of course, a lot of people had fallen off of it, but with the recent updates where weather affects things, they just added some updated AR features to their Pokemon catching and Pokemon viewing stuff that I really like and really enjoy. Definitely made some great pushes forward. Same with The Division. Of course, I've played The Division for a while, and they've had some updates where people have kind of fallen off of it and gotten upset with it, and there were some balancing issues. But this recent update, 1.8, holy crap, man, it was definitely a fix that this series needed. It was definitely something that was just grand. It really brought the game back to me, you know. They changed up the loot system where you kind of get a little bit more loot again, and just really made great updates to the game. Like I said, the balancing issue was a big deal. They really fixed that, although one of the what you call them, loadouts, like, because they have different like gear that give you gear sets and stuff. Well, one of the gear sets called the D3, which is like this cool shield, that one kind of needs a bit of a shield buff because they really weakened the health on it. I don't know if they fixed that since, but last time I played with it, man, I was getting wrecked hard. And that used to be like the gear set that I would use to like destroy people. Now that's not the case. But definitely have had a lot of fun with that game, and it's been a blast, and I'm so glad for 1.8 update. But that's not the game of the year. No, game of the year, hands down for me, goes to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And I've only had about a month to play it so far. I just got it recently for Thanksgiving after I bought my Nintendo Switch. And God, Nintendo Switch, man, that was really, really a great surprise system for me. But sorry, son, I'm trying to drive around to keep him entertained. But yeah, no, Breath of the Wild has been such an amazing game. It definitely takes the Legend of Zelda franchise to a whole new level. It just, the gameplay about it, the physics about it, just everything about this game has just been so much fun. And in fact, I've kind of like taken a lot of detours, you know, like the main quests, like I have to remind myself, oh yeah, I need to do these main quests, because if I don't, like, you know, I got to beat the game. But you just have so much fun, you know, you just really enjoy it a lot, and just you get lost in the game mechanics and uncovering new like points of interest, like, well, they're called shrines that you can teleport to and everything that help you get around the map, and just the weapons, finding new ones and just new ways to kill enemies. It's been so much fun. It's been so great. I just can't get enough of this game right now. In fact, I want to be playing it right now, but I'm trying to record this podcast for you guys. So we'll hurry up and knock this out so that way we can get to it. Up next is my favorite and best podcast of 2017. That, of course, goes to the Bry-Fy podcast. Actually, there's tons of great podcasts out there. In fact, I can't just pick one as my best. I think one of my favorites ones to listen to, and the one that I constantly love getting content from, is the 8-Bit Geek. Those guys, of course, I've been on their show helping out with the crossovers where I review horror movies and Christmas movies, which has been a lot of fun. But their regular content is just so great. The guys, their banter between each other is just so fantastic. God, man, it's a great show. If you're not checking them out, you really need to. They're a lot of fun. The other show I want to bring attention to is my friends, the Nerdy Bitches. Their podcast is so great. It's so just wonderful. Not just because it's like a female nerd perspective, but because it's just a great nerd perspective. And they're just great human beings. They have fun content. They're funny to listen to them laugh at things and just their take on everything. I love it. It's a unique take versus all the other podcasts I listen to. I don't know if it's just because they're female versus a lot of the other podcasts I listen to are male heavy. Ooh, I think Casey's almost done. She's at the nail spa getting her nails done. But it's always great to have that, and they're definitely one of my top shows as well. And the other one goes out to Cult 45 podcast. They're a movie review podcast, and they do a lot of older movies, some newer ones. They have been a lifesaver for me this year as well, especially at work when they review their movies. And it's just been hilarious listening to them break down movies and just poke fun at them and the tropes that these movies go through. Those have definitely been my top 3 podcasts, and they're all based out of Houston. 8-Bit Geek is out of Dallas, and one of their guys is I think in Kansas City. But I mean, all of them are local guys and girls, and, they've just really grown their show and really put the time and effort into it, and I respect them for that, and I envy them for being so good, because, God dang it, I wish I was that good too. But definitely my top podcast. If you're not checking them out, please go check them all out. 8-Bit Geek, Nerdy Bitches, and the Cult 45, and that's cult like a cult, not like the gun cult, like a horse cult, but like a cult. Like religious cult. Top comic book of 2017. Yay, finally getting in the comics right. Has to go to Heavy Vinyl, aka Hi-Fi Fight Club. Definitely been just a book that's really shown me how much fun comics can be again, and just how much heart goes into this book, how just entertaining this book is. It's only 4 issues in, but man, this book came out of nowhere for me. I picked it up just because I was like, oh, this cover looks cute, and I kind of dig the artwork on it, and it just turned out to be a fantastic read, one that I just can't wait to see what happens. I've always kind of compared it to kind of like Scooby-Doo, but with more fighting and no talking dog, not really like Scooby-Doo, but it's like a bunch of kick-ass girls that work at a vinyl music store. Definitely has the 90s vibe to it. I mean, it's based out of the 90s, so there's some references and all kinds of other fun stuff. But it's just been a fantastic book. So check out Heavy Vinyl / Hi-Fi Fight Club if you haven't gotten a chance to yet. It is definitely worth the read. All right, guys, and going along with the lines of comic books, let's talk about the best comic book shop of 2017 for me. And there's a few here in Austin, a few that I've gone to visit and have had a lot of good times at. But there's one shop that stood above the rest with their customer service. I might be a little bit biased because they are closer to me than all the other shops. But, every time I go in, they know me by name now. They know why I'm there for. I'm always in there every Wednesday, except for this past Wednesday. So I got to get in there. But it's going to go to Rogue's Gallery here in Round Rock, Texas. They've just been fantastic. Always a good time when I go in there. It's just great, I feel like a valued customer. Of course, that's not to say some of my other favorite shop, Third Planet over in Houston, is not a top 2017. It's just I didn't really go to them very much this year, mainly because we moved up here to Austin, and so Rogue's Gallery really stepped up and stepped in to fill that comic shop void that I was missing, and I'm just so thankful that shop happened to be real close by, and they just happen to be staffed by some great people there. So I really enjoyed them and wanted to give them a shout out. Of course, you have other good shops like Austin Books and Comics, Dragon's Lair, and that's really the only two other shops that I really ventured out to here in Austin. I know there's a few more. I just haven't gotten around to visit those shops, or I just haven't driven to those areas where, it's feasible for me to go to those shops. And so, yeah, anyway, let's move on with some other stuff that I had to talk about. And it's got 3 more. And so they're not, except for the last one, they're not really obviously they're podcast related because I'm talking about, they're not comic book related. The first one's going to be my favorite restaurant of this year. Moving to Austin, there's tons of food, tons of great eating options, but there was just one restaurant, was a diner that just really, God, man, it has become my favorite place to eat. Whenever I can eat there, I do. And I mean, I'm an adult. I can eat there whenever I want, but sometimes I just don't want to go and just out to it. I'm lazy too. But it's been just phenomenal food for me. It was really great, and it's going to go to Kirby Lane. There's a few locations, but the one up here near me in Round Rock is just so awesome. I had their Kirby Lane mac and cheese. It's like chicken strips on top of macaroni and cheese, and then it has a green verde sauce to go with it. Holy crap, man. It's just the right amount of cheese, right amount of kick, right amount of chicken. I love that food so much. But, my favorite food that I've had this year, like that I've tried, and I've tried new food, is this stuff called bao bread. It's like bao bread. I don't know if it's Vietnamese or Korean, but some friends of ours took us to a place that sold it, or like that was like their main dish, and I had some with like barbecue pork in it, and oh my God, dude, that bread is amazing. Like, it's nothing like super spectacular, but oh God, it just, for whatever reason, it worked just right. It was like a roll. Like, it's like soft, squishy bread. Like, I don't even know, like almost doughy in a way, like, or like really thick tortillas. Ooh, yeah, thick tortillas. That's what it's kind of like. But man, it was so good. And it was like one of my favorite new foods to try this year. But Kirby Lane, definitely my favorite restaurant of 2017. And then my favorite moment of 2017. And this can range from anything, just what's going on. What was something that just got me super excited, got me super happy. And if you guys know me at all, and you follow any of my Twitters, my Facebooks, or just anything, I'm a huge Houston Astros fan. And of course, this year was the greatest year to be an Astros fan, because obviously they won the World Series. I mean, they won like 111 games. I mean, they just went nuts. They went insane. I went crazy. They beat the Dodgers Game 7 of the World Series in Los Angeles, which was huge. Of course, Game 5, you had like stud pitchers on both teams, and yet they were just getting rocked. It was a 13-12 game. Astros had a walk-off single to win it. I mean, this series was so exciting to just cap off an exciting season. All the players have just been fantastic. I love them. And then, of course, the Astros won after Houston was hit by Hurricane Harvey. And, I mean, there was tons of other catastrophes throughout the country and the world, but, Houston getting hit by Harvey was very close to home, especially since I used to live there. And I don't know how we lucked out, but we happened to move out of the Houston area this year when that happened, and where we were living, some neighbor friends of ours sent us video, and like our house would have been affected like bad. Like our house was up on kind of like stilts. I mean, up on blocks. So then that we were living in back then, and I think the house itself was fine, but the cars would have just been totaled. They would have been up to like their door in water, or like the passenger window door. That's what I mean, in water. So it kind of hit close to home, seeing all that stuff. but, having the city just devastated like that, everyone's obviously in a sour mood and upset. And then you just kind of had the Astros just to kind of rally around. They were doing good. They kind of just gave you hope for whatever reason that you found or followed the team. In fact, they came home right after the hurricane hit. A lot of them have families here and stuff, and they played like a doubleheader. And I remember that just being like a huge moment. Them revealing that they're going to wear the hashtag Houston Strong on their jerseys, which they wore, and they had that on them, hashtag Houston Strong, throughout the postseason and winning. And it was just a really cool moment. It was just a really great thing. And me being an Astros fan for so long, I remember watching games in the Astrodome before, they moved to Minute Maid. And I've been a fan through like the 100+ lost seasons, 3 years in a row. And it's been great. A great ride for me getting to watch the team be awesome, and that's enough about sports, but that was my best moment of 2017. It was just really great. Of course, you have like your moments, I don't mean like, oh, that was the hands down best thing that's ever happened. Well, I mean, it kind of was, but my son, he's been making a lot of good strides, saying things and not holding conversations, but starting to communicate with us, whether it's pulling us and showing us, hey, I'm hungry, and he pulls us to the pantry to show, I know food's in here, give me food, or pulling us to the fridge to be like, I'm thirsty, give me something to drink, or like when he pulls us to toys because he wants to play with certain toys. Those are big moments for us too. But come on, man, Astros win the World Series. That doesn't happen every day. I could have another son. It's fine. No. And then the last category and the last thing I want to talk about is my favorite podcast supporter of 2017. And this, I feel like, is a no-brainer. I've mentioned him on the show plenty of times. He joined me on the Extra Life live stream, and he's just been an all-around great guy, great friend, and a great supporter of the show, and that's Walker the Geek. In fact, Walker does his own podcast, so if you guys like my one-man comic book show, go give Walker's one-man comic book show a try. We got to stick together, or we could probably maybe join forces and become like, a two-man comic show. Walker. But no, it's just been so fantastic to have him as a supporter, and along with everyone else that supported the podcast and just been a great help. Big shout out to also Robin, who he's a fan over from the UK. He's supported me on Patreon as well as Walker has. He's always given his 2 cents whenever I've asked for it, which has always been great. In fact, he sent me a cool Harley Quinn variant cover that you could only get in Germany, and that was really awesome. So I sent him a signed copy by Joe Kelly of Spider-Man Deadpool issue number 1. I got to meet Joe Kelly, which was really awesome. And so I knew he told me he was a big fan of that series and of just Spider-Man and Deadpool. So I wanted to give him that because, that was a pretty cool thing. And I mean, what he sent me is an exclusive that you could only get if you were in Germany. So that was really awesome of him. And of course, my wife, who's a huge supporter of the show, and all my other friends who have listened and laughed and made jokes sometimes and against me. So, but it's just been great to have you guys as support, and all the other podcasts who have given me shout outs, and I've shouted out on the show. We've had a great community over on the Houston area podcasters, and now the Austin area podcasters, which I've recently joined. Although I will admit the Houston one is a lot more entertaining, and it's a lot more not cohesion, it's just interactive, and I feel like that's more of a family with that group of people and podcasters, and I've just really enjoyed having them and being a part of their group and the Comic Palooza podcast partnership program. It's just been really great to be a part of all these things, and I'm just so happy and so excited to say that I am a part of those and support those and have their support as well. But Walker, man, you've been fantastic, dude. I know you might be listening to this. You probably tuned out whenever I started talking about sports, but thank you so much, dude. A huge shout out to you. And like I said, go follow him on Twitter at Walker the Geek. give his podcast a licking. Don't lick us for that. Oh, wow, we're getting really intense now. Listen and like, subscribe, rate, review, all his stuff to, let him know. And same goes for me. Please like, review, subscribe, comment on all my stuff on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, YouTube now. I'm going over there. I'm working on videos. Right now it's just audio only, but I'm thinking about pushing some videos. My wife and me have been talking, and she wants to help. So we'll see how that goes, guys. But I think that's going to be it for this year. This kind of the last episode, and I kind of gave you guys my favorites and everything. And I you know what? I think that's it. I think we've reached the end, and I'm happy. I hope you guys are happy. If you like or agree with my favorites, let me know. If you dislike or hate my favorites, like disagree with them, let me know too. I want to hear from you guys, because that's what I enjoy most. I enjoy interacting with you guys so much. It's been so great. All the conversations that I've had, all the jokes that I've shared, and getting to see some people at conventions has been really cool too. Like I said, I got one more convention this year. I'm going to be at IkiCon this weekend here in Austin. I forget what hotel it's in, but it's supposed to be Austin's premier anime convention, so oh boy, excited for that. The last anime convention I went here was kind of a letdown, so we'll see how this one shapes up, guys. But that's going to be it for the Bry-Fy podcast for 2017. Bry-Fy out.